Okay.
Recording is on.
You're learning that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So you're recording. So yeah, why don't you hit make sure that when you leave the meeting that you actually hit stop. Otherwise you'll lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It'll just go
In
on.
fact, let's see. Can I do open, share, stop recording? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Recording. Only one person can record at a time. Okay, Jan, just you and me and the rest of the world. So welcome to...
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Welcome to our Tuesday, October 16, 2018 meeting at 2 p.m. Central Time, our normal meeting time for the development team. So if you look at first of all, take a look at the working document if you're not on there already. So you can actually find it if you're familiar with the wiki, opensourceecology.org wiki, and the page is called Current Meeting. So you can find that, and the link is in the chat box for everyone on the team here. So, Abe, welcome. Let's start with just a little review of where we're at. So actually, as far as the overall effort of open source ecology, we are expanding after the immersion program. So you do see a nice bubble here starting about August, end of August. So September reflects the work during the immersion program with our full-time people. Then continuing after that, we're kind of around the 250 hour per week quota, which is actually, if you convert that to full-time equivalent, that would be about 5 or 6 people full-time equivalent. So that's good. We have Alex and Sarah in California working full-time on setting up operations in California. And then Dixon is in Utah. He's spending about, Dixon used to be on a dev team here. He's spending about 60% or so of his time. His current project is actually focusing on the laser cutter, which is once again D3D laser cutter, which means we are using the same universal axis system and just putting simply a laser head on it. So actually I talked to David Lee, who's an open source advocate from China. He said that we should reframe the universal axis to really like robotics construction set, because you can scale it and then you can put whatever head you like on it, reconfigure it. Therefore it becomes a construction set for automation or robotics, he likes to say. He actually mentioned that we could probably do a super low cost version of the farm bot, which is quite expensive right now, but with our technique we can definitely drive that price down if those blueprints are fully available. So good news on the team. I mean, we're slowly but surely increasing, and of course the next immersion is going to be in April, May, and we look forward to that. We're going to get into the heavy machines, starting with a CNC torch table, which is derived from 3D printed parts. So that's why the open source microfactory, the desktop version, is important for the much larger picture, because we're definitely putting on a map the idea of using 1-inch rods and 2-inch and even 3-inch rods for super stiff machines using the same universal axis system. So on page 2 of the meeting doc there, let me share my screen so everyone can see that. On page 2, we've got a picture of our team photo shoot when everyone was here a few weeks ago for the website and things. So Alex, Sarah, and Dixon on the left, Jesus there, and me with a hat. And then we're, I don't know if you've seen microfactory.opensourceecology.org. So that's our new website, primarily for the California operations. But it's the microfactory in general, but a lot of that work, if you look at, if you click on that and see upcoming events, they're happening in the Bay Area of San Francisco. So if you see that, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's workshops around you on the 3D printer right now. And so as far as our team is concerned, you know, Alex and Sarah learned the trade. They can build the printer inside out and pretty much troubleshoot just about most of it. And we're starting very slowly, so we're going to hackerspaces, public libraries. Our first event is going to be actually in, so look at the workshop interest form. The first event is going to be, that's a link on the wiki. We're hosting the first one at Counterculture Lab, a hackerspace on biohacking. And actually a friend there, Anthony, he's working on open source insulin. So that's actually a very valuable project, but we're holding our first workshop on October 27th at Counterculture Labs. And then the second one's that's already secured is November 10 at the San Francisco Public Library. Get a load of that. In San Francisco. So the first one's in Oakland, the second one in San Francisco, and around the areas where we're moving around to. And we're kind of framing it, starting slowly. So we're aiming for just a gradual ramp up as we gain the experience with Alex and Sarah working independently. So just only like 2 builds for the first event, then 2 builds, 4 builds, and building up to 6 builds so that Alex and Sarah get really comfortable doing that, and we can really deliver a high quality experience. I think we've got the technology nailed. I mean, we really spent a lot of intense time on that during the immersion program, where starting with the bad start on the materials sourcing, we were working out a lot of different issues throughout to the point that we ended up with the Titan Aero extruder, which is a really high quality one of the best ones out there. So that's the current iteration. The main improvements at this point to the 3D printer are that we have the LCD screen, we've got the Titan Aero extruder, and on the code front, actually one of the last minute developments there was real-time adjustment of the first layer, so that when you're printing the first layer, you've got your Z offset that you have to set to calibrate. But if it's not sticking properly, you can adjust the first layer ever so slightly, so you get the perfect sticking to the first of the first layer. So that's actually a very, very useful feature. It was basically turning that on within Marlin firmware. It's already in there. It's all in there. It's all in Marlin. We just had to turn it on. Didn't even know it was available already in Cura. So that's it on that, ramping up slowly but surely in the California place, and also really trying to work out. So we've got working on venue selection protocol, now working on the marketing protocol so we can actually populate workshops, and then I'll be getting on to developing the product of the 2-day teachers training or librarian and teacher training, such that it's a continuing education thing where the teachers and librarians get continuing education as well as a 3D printer for their library or school. So we're doing market research on that and stuff like that. The full bill of materials is online. So if you look at D3D or 3D printer bill of materials, the current cost actually stands at $483 when you include the Titan Aero extruder, which is $108 in itself. So extruder is rather expensive, the most expensive single part. Now, I did draw up a simple 3D printer BOM on the wiki as well, which you can look at, and that total for a stripped down version without heat bed, but including a 6-inch bed, is only $250. So that's actually much lower cost. So I do notice we have Sarah on the team. Sarah, you mind telling us a word or two of what you're up to right now, just so everybody's involved, kind of gets a feeling for what we're all doing?
Hi, sure. Yeah, earlier this week I've been focusing on the marketing effort, where we've been finding venues and posting our Oakland event, which is already scheduled and secured at a venue. We've been posting that to event calendars, trying to get the word out about it, sending press releases, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like today specifically, I am focusing on updating the Microfactory website and putting together some Facebook posts. We are going to the East Bay Maker Fair. Open Source Ecology will have a booth there that we're really excited about.
Nice.
At some point realized, we were like, oh, we aren't actually people who identify as makers. We're like wannabe makers. Like, that's why we got into Open Source Ecology, because we want to become that, not because we already are that. So we feel it's really important for us to engage with that community and just start talking to people. And so that's our kind of primary goal at the Maker Fair, is to do that and to promote the upcoming workshop in Oakland there.
Will we even have our own Open Source Ecology 3D printing setup up there printing parts?
Of course we will.
All right. I knew that. That's
Oh
good.
yeah.
Yeah. Any questions from Sarah, Jen, or Abe? Like, since Sarah's online and she's she can tell you a lot of things.
Jen's already blowing up the chat because she's like knowing that I owe her some social media posts.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. And then we're looking at, yeah, as far as Google Ads, we do have a ton of Google Ad. I mean, we have access to that through open source ecology. So Sarah, like, what's the summary on a Google Ads? I mean, do we have promise, like we can get nice ads out there that someone clicks on and says, hey, build your own 3D printer? Like, do you think that's going to work, or that's like, are we having faith in that, or?
Yeah, the update on Google Ads is we are currently running ads on keywords like build your own 3D printer workshops. At a very kind of juvenile level, we're doing that. But we have a lot of potential there. We have a nonprofit grant that gives us up to $10,000 a month, which is basically unlimited amount of ads. So we're sourcing our keywords by, yeah, I did like a basic keyword analysis using the SEO tool that Google has. But primarily we're very specific. So we're really just focusing on exactly what we're offering, which is a 3D printer build your own kind of deal. So yeah, like hopefully we'll just find someone who identifies as a Google ad hawk, and they'll just really want to take over managing our campaigns there because we have a lot of potential.
How did you say you're sourcing your keywords?
So Google provides a tool that you put in a keyword and they tell you how many searches it gets per month. So generally the workflow there is to have keywords that are actually searched for rather than keywords that are never searched for.
Oh, wow.
Like build your own 3D printer on a pterodactyl would probably not be a good keyword to use.
Yeah.
No one does that.
Jen, how can you help with SEO, search engine optimization?
I'd have to get into it, but that's what I was doing for Tribe. It's more like a Grok thing. So, you need a lot of chatter, and the keywords are like a really big deal, and you need to coordinate the different, well, not you. We need to coordinate the different medias because Facebook's great, but we can get a lot of traffic to articles on Facebook, to our open source ecology page on Facebook through, we need Instagram posts, we need Twitter posts. And the problem with, the thing with all of that is that things have to be formatted differently on each of the different social medias. And that's something that I already have experience with. I already have a grok of, and I appreciate and enjoy doing. So, I mean, yeah if you're into like differentiating all those different social media, but I'm not picking up that that's what you're putting down, then you fly right at it because I don't really have time. But I would love to do this, and this is something that I've done before, and it's something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, the OSE Instagram I think needs to materialize.
Yeah.
Right. And I need access to the OSE Twitter so that I can post on Twitter, and like we can get traffic directed to Facebook through Twitter and through Instagram. I don't have a lot of Instagram followers right now, but I have a fair number of Twitter followers, and I'm hitting a lot of independent community type people. So I think it just occurred to me yesterday listening to a couple of podcasters, like anybody interested in space is going to be interested in this because they're going to, the 3D printer is just fundamental to any kind of off-planet civilization. It's just essential to it. It's fundamental. That's what it's about, is being able to make your own stuff and recycle indefinitely. So anybody interested in space is going to be interested in this. And that's just like more than half the population almost at this point.
When are we going?
A lot of marketing ideas hit me last night, and so I'll quit clogging up the developers meeting with it. But Sarah, we need to talk. I've got a lot of ideas.
Cool. So yeah, we could set you up to the OSE Twitter and Instagram. Now there's a page called 3D Printer Graphics Assets on the wiki, so you can click on all those things like the photo shoot, some flyers. There's graphics guidelines.
Excellent.
3D printer infographics. So just a few things that you can use, and feel free to do that. Sarah, where are we keeping like all the graphics? Otherwise, there's, yeah, I mean, I'm putting everything related to the printer on this wiki page, so also continue to do that. But yeah, some of those are links to our photo shoots. Yeah. Yep, so that's good. Okay, excellent. So yeah, we'll keep going on that. And it's really about, like, if we think about marketing strategy, the funnel there. Yeah, I'm trying to work on that. But yeah, it's like, how does one thing feed into the other? So maybe we can like go over that next week. Maybe like do a little chart. I'll start one. But there's a lot of different ways we can cross talk and cross feed from one to the next. So I'm actually working on kind of like an infographic for that, kind of like the flow chart, because there is a whole range of things we can be doing. So that's pretty good. Like including, and I'll go to this, just the workshop interest form. If you click on it, that's on the wiki already. We've got like whatever, like 10. I just posted this up like a couple of days ago, but that's actually a great thing to do. Like asking people, okay, are you interested in a workshop? Let's get people. If there's enough people on the map in a certain location, we can actually travel there and actually host the workshop. So that's a good thing. But it can feed into our, we can spread this on put this on our website, which already is. I saw Sarah, you already put that on there. We can put it on. We can repost this on the OSE Workshops Facebook page, the main Facebook, and other places, so we keep generating interest.
Yeah, I would put that on heavy rotation. I mean, if you don't want it on your Twitter, I would put that in heavy rotation on my Twitter, and I would put that. I would consider that appropriate for my LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. So there's.
I'm real picky about my LinkedIn, but I would definitely consider OSE stuff's definitely appropriate for my LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just got to just post the snot out of this stuff until people are like getting into it. It's fine. It's cool. It's like this is absolutely the coolest thing on the planet right now, and it might even be the coolest thing off planet. I mean, this is a thing, Marcin. We're going up against. This is a thing. This is saving the world. This is what's preventing the big corporations from taking over. Is you're giving power back to the people. I mean, I mean, we don't have to seize the means of production. We are the means of production, and this is proving it. This is so important.
Yeah. It's important that people recognize that we are production and so forth. Yeah. So let's continue on that. So thanks, Sarah. And Abe, do you have any updates regarding the Power Cube? Because actually, Abe, there's just for bigger context, I did get contacted by a fellow who's working in Africa, and they want to do actually a microtrack pilot. So I actually need to spend a day this week, like an evening, writing up that proposal. But there's a wiki page started that's called Africa Pilot, I believe, and it starts laying out what we could do with a microtrack. But the Power Cube is a big component of that. So if that goes through, you might be getting invited to Africa. But yeah, if that goes through, that'll be interesting. But I mean, the cool thing for me, it's like, okay, we don't want to imperialize Africa, but the idea here is that we are teaching people to build the machines that they use. So this is actually for farmers. I was thinking about a microtrack with a spader. So a rotary spader attachment, which is a very, very useful ground preparation if you're tilling. I mean, this is not like permaculture, but it is tilling. But it's a very, very useful tool. So I was thinking microtrack with a PTO, power takeoff. So basically a traction machine with implements that you can drag behind it. I wasn't even looking at the front end loader for the pilot. Just do something super simple and really deliver on that. Hey, do you have any updates on where you are with Power Cube work?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still kind of catching up on some stuff. I'll say first, I did not as many hours on a lot of stuff lately, but it's given me some perspective on things. So I'm kind of prioritizing and catching up on things, but I did catch up on a lot of the videos and things you had recently. And I did see the email, and I reviewed some stuff for the Power Cube that way. I didn't see any issues with links. I think all the links on the Power Cube are pretty good, although I need to do a lot more review on some of the just back documentation stuff. And let's see, I was going to say, I think the audio right now is really good on my end. I can hear everything. But in the videos, I don't know if you noticed lately, A lot of those YouTube videos, it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to understand because there's, I don't know if it's a hardware or software issue, but just
It's a hardware issue, actually.
the hardware issue.
My computer is like kind of like the microphone is kind of like dying there. So yeah, I understand that. But it seems to be like if you guys can hear me pretty well right now, I think it should be catching it
Good.
decent.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I don't hear any of that. I was thinking maybe it was software because it's like a clipping noise, but it seems to be consistent. So I decided it's probably hardware.
Yeah. And we're recording the meeting too. Jen is recording that on Jitsi itself, so hopefully that gets a good quality thing. If we don't forget to hit stop recording.
Yeah.
This time.
Maybe you'll need a USB mic or something. Sometimes those digital mics work better, but that can vary. But
that's interesting. Maybe
what I use is a wireless USB headset because I guess it's because it's digital, or it's basically just a sound card that's in the USB. They're so simple that they can do that now. It's not very high quality, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, so back to the cube. I kept trying to do different stuff with the software and FreeCAD and all that, and trying to figure out, since I've been learning more Python and I've been spending time on that. I kept thinking to do micros and control the software, and a lot of that is really just FreeCAD. It's beta. It's kind of hard to work with the interface. They are improving the interfaces, and I know in newer versions, I think that there is work going on, on improving the interface and the way to interact, and maybe some type of macro eventually. Other software could make it easy to control, but I just had so much trouble trying to work with kind of like wires and trying to do the tubing stuff that I said. With broader perspective, that's probably less of a priority. It's kind of a subcomponent of getting these things to fit together on the tractor, actually. So back to that, I think is more the first priority again. Some a little more trouble with the software and detailing the hoses on there isn't as critical as just getting everything to fit together. And the hoses, if they're not, that's kind of hard to do. In software, it's something that people can figure out. We can figure out ways to estimate that more roughly, and that kind of gets done by hand, really. Still, I mean, it comes down to actually doing that in the shop when you put the thing together. But fitting all that stuff on the tractor is still a big job just in of itself, because as I recall with the large tractor, it looked like there need to be some more different design changes there, because there's just so many cubes, and we had to come up with some kind of method to rack it on there. So I want to get back to looking at that, and I look at that tractor again, and yeah, it sounds like there's a need for more implements, like you're saying. Maybe figure out what the locals need in that situation. Right. Maybe for low impact implements. A spader, I guess, is different than a tiller. Maybe that's lower impact than a tiller. But sometimes I think of things like seed drills or something like that. Of course, that's here practically, because I've seen different seeding equipment that way, because you can. Sometimes they even seed directly into grass and orchards, and it's effective drilling the seed with, it's usually like a rolling implement with wheels that just push seeds depth and all that. But some of this is pretty complicated, but there might be some simple designs. Yeah, cedar is the universal cedar that's part of the Global Village construction set, isn't it? So that's. Yeah, we can try that. We don't have any designs that we have actually done. We don't have any prototypes of the cedar right now. We do have some experience with rotary, the salt pulverizer and tiller. So that's more easy, just designing the blades properly and the proper gearing to that, and just direct drive by strong hydraulic motors. Yeah. So on a power cube. Is there any way that we can, did you give any more thought on how we validate the fit of everything? Let's
or
see.
it's one of those things that you really got to test it by prototyping?
The distances on everything, I've left enough room, and I think in the power cube it kind of, especially the main cube, it got a lot bigger and so on, and there seems to be good distances on things, and I think even for movement and so on, it seems good as far as the distance between parts. As far as the plumbing, let's see, as far as everything fits because of the way I've done. So let's see, that looks like it doesn't look like is that the most updated? I thought I had more. There were more plumbing parts. I don't know what version that is, but there.
I clicked on it from. I'm at 1711. That's what I believe you linked on the last dev team meeting slide. Oh, you didn't maybe upload it? Oh yeah. So you actually Can you update that?
I've uploaded, but I think the last thing I uploaded was a different file. So yeah, let me link to whatever the last file was. I was experimenting with different possibilities for the drafting hoses and things, but that
right. So you
a good.
So you're now latest now is at GitHub right now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Still GitHub, and I kind of prioritized that too. I wanted to try to reorganize the files different from that, but some degree the problem is that if you're trying to do a history in Git, there's only a certain amount of reorganization you can do, or at least the point, I guess, of versioning control is that you have a history, and once you've got the files, it's kind of hard to rework that after the fact, So some things just have to wait for the next iteration opportunity. But let's see. So,
what are your next steps in terms of the Power Cube?
Let's see. There may need. Let's see some other parts in there. Bolts. The cube itself and most of the CAD on that, all seems pretty good. It has been for a while, really.
Yeah.
As far as I know,
any luck on the actual 3D scan of any of the parts?
3D scan parts.
Yeah, with the photogrammetry.
The photogrammetry stuff, I kept doing different things on that, and without and I don't have a GPU, and I know that's part of the issue, but with speed on that, but I always found a certain amount of accuracy issues with that, and some of that could be lighting or control. But it was iffier. Now, some of the stuff I saw, I think Alex or different people looked a little better with the drilling things, and maybe that's photo quality and so on. But I guess it's a question of how much processing and editing it takes. And I did work with Mesh Labs, all the different software a little bit to try to see how all that worked. But it almost seems like it's more time consuming, or just, at least it's time consuming to do a lot of that stuff if the quality isn't very good, as it is compared to just work up simple parts in FreeCAD. So I don't know there's a question of what sort of parts, maybe larger stuff where you don't need a lot of accuracy versus, certain parts that way.
Have you ever looked into trying to get the source files for that engine? Like somebody's got to have the source files.
Yeah, I mean, from the photos and everything, I decided when I reworked that engine that it's got to be pretty accurate. Although at this point, but I mean, it could be better. But I don't know, source files for the engine online. They don't seem to have a lot of manuals. Those companies, they change things quite a bit, with engine designs even and so on. So, that we never found a lot of published information or details on that.
This looks like a trip to China. I'll see what I can do. I'm actually going. I'm going to meet David Lee next week, actually, to speak in Hong Kong, actually. So I'm going to start asking, like, how do you actually find? Because that stuff is actually all available there. They do share that. If you're from the outside, you can't really get it. You have to be in. You have to know how to get in there. But they're not.
You've got to get on
unopened.
I hear that they're just-in-time manufacturing, is very much based around the Chinese WeChat. All those manufacturers constantly share information on WeChat, and they can put out stuff faster than you can patent it.
Oh yeah, where'd you read that?
Yeah, there quite a bit of articles on that kind of stuff. The just-in-time
Yeah.
manufacturing, they're fast at it.
Yeah. No, we gotta. Hopefully, I'll get some insight into that next week. But yeah, it's actually this China trip. I might, if I like it, I might be going back there and really like, because basically what David Lee told me is that if it exists on Alibaba, then you can get the blueprints for it if you know where to look. So that could be an interesting way to actually get some of the components, like blueprints for various components that we just don't have a clue like how they're designed right now, especially if we could find the engineers that are responsible for those plans. So it's actually very interesting proposition.
Yeah, I listened to some of that video with David, although sometimes it was kind of hard to hear. But it is interesting in how open source. A lot of times people worry about open source, even open sourcing, because they'll copy it for high speed manufacturing, and I noticed that some news too that Chinese are moving a lot of manufacturing almost from. They're investing in Africa.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving China to there. That's kind of moving around the way it does the low cost.
No, that's absolutely real according to David. Yep.
Open sourcing even smaller simpler parts, even if we can't manufacture them. I mean, how that kind of there's a lot of questions. You could debate that endlessly, I'm sure, about if they use open source stuff and they're moving that way. And the Chinese, there's been complaints, of course, about with like 3D printers, I know, and software, and them not respecting open source, different, legal stuff. But, open sourcing things and then that being manufactured that way and getting manufacturers to open source stuff, even though they're mass producing it as opposed to local production, it's, there's pros and cons. It's not necessarily a bad thing if people start open sourcing parts, because even if they mass produce it cheap, people can still produce it locally when they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just open source is a cool idea just in general. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Yeah, just giving more people access.
It's just a matter of drawing lots of stuff in CAD, and things like that, and doing all the research.
Yeah.
But it sounded like he was talking about electric motors and things like that a lot too. But
yep. All right. Yeah, sounds good. Let's see. Can we focus maybe let's see. One side is, I don't know, have you maybe try fitting the new Power Cube into the old version of the MicroTrack so you make sure everything fits in there? Maybe do that as the next step, because we got the full MicroTrack file pretty much.
I had that email the other day. I should cover that. I looked to see if there were any issues with the links there, but I think that there were some questions as to the version of that. Maybe, I don't know if there's any confusion. The version, my understanding was the versions were 1708. There was a Power Cube 1708, and that corresponded, I think, with the 1708 CEB press last year. And then what was it? Yeah. So, and then there was a 1710 Power Cube, and I believe that was a slight redesign for the MicroTrack. So this large cube for the larger tractor, I don't know that I think it's much larger, so I don't know that it would fit on the MicroTrack. I'm not sure how it would fit. I think it's quite a bit bigger.
Okay. Well, we need one. Right. So I'm going to make a note in Power Cube genealogy that we built for the C. So 1708 was built. Yeah, I'm losing track of that. Built for the CEB press in Utah.
And I think that's what that they were saying. The Saudis and maybe a build in Africa too? Talking about other stuff maybe there with the tractor, but the MicroTrack and whatever else, they sound like they were building CEB. They wanted to build CEB presses and maybe other things there. So I don't know if 1708 is the right version. They should use an older version. Technically, it shouldn't be too hard to edit if people want to, especially if they want to do a CNC cut, because the 1711 and 1801 versions are similar, and they're designed to be more easily cut out of steel. I mean, that was kind of the point to cut them on the twist table. They could probably be edited, if that's the route that they want to go, and changed a little bit. I mean, of course, the advantage of this the cube with lots of hookups is technically you could just build that and just cap off the stuff you don't need. That way, it's not that much more cost, right? Just to add a few more pipes into the thing, and then if people need to use it modularly in the future for other things, they have that option. I mean, I would probably want to go that way. It seems like a good way to do it. Just build a version that's more usable for a variety of things. But if they want to simplify it, they can always take out extra stuff. It's pretty easy to edit out the extra pipes and so on. And just reduce if you need to reduce, and I don't know, that could be made much smaller. Oh, the other, I guess, version difference on some of these too was there were changes at different points, and I had different issues with the pumps, which is a major difference between what you're hooking it to. I think you were using a two-stage pump you were testing for the CB press maybe originally, and I think that didn't work out as well or something. I remember the details there, but so I think that those files were edited and everything should be hopefully pretty clear on what the pump is, because that's the main difference too. And depending on what kind of pump they can source locally, I guess is an issue too. What they gotta
for the Power Cube, would you mind putting a part? Do we have a part library for the Power Cube? Are you doing that?
Yeah. Let's see. There's
which version is that? And
I'll look at
is that the latest one?
I mean, I put all the files that we're using that, of course, on GitHub. Let me check the.
Would that be 1801?
1801 is the cube without the tab.
Oh yeah, Power Cube library. We already have that. Okay, there it is. Final assembly modules. Yeah, that's good. Can you keep splitting that into little parts? Because actually, what would be useful. So making small 3D prints of the individual components would be useful in that we can compare the 3D print to the actual model to see if there's any discrepancies. Like in fact, for workshops, like if we do a workshop, having the model where you can actually put the pieces together just as little 3D prints, and you actually could see this, okay, you can put the engine in, you can put like the pump and other components, that would be useful for 3D printing actually. So yeah, can you continue breaking that down into individual parts so we can do that?
Okay, there's the Power Cube library, which is general stuff. Yeah, there's more parts through there, and there should be a Power Cube part library too. Looking for the link to that one. That should have more of the small parts.
I remember that.
Let's see what is the name of that? I guess is the question. Let's see, Power Cube 17.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it would be nice to thinking about larger development teams, like doing maybe design sprints or a design jam where some people are printing the actual scale parts using a large nozzle. So it's actually a very quick print. And then we're assembling and fitting things together in real time to see how they fit before the actual build. Because I think the closest right now that we have to vetting the actual design before we actually build it is 3D printing, I would say. Because you can even do things like print the hoses and fittings so that you can see where things get tight angles or whatever. But that does rely on accurate CAD, but we can validate the CAD from the actual prints, because if the print looks like the real thing, that means we're close and and so forth. So it would be nice to add that in our overall process as we go forward. So that would be good.
Yeah, that's a little more physical, hands-on than.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking at the CAD,
yeah. Okay, well, that sounds good. So yeah, keep going on. Yeah, I mean, see if you can organize the library parts so we can possibly do that, because actually, that might be quite relevant. Those little scale models might be relevant if we're trying to put like 5 power cubes onto the big tractor, which I'd like to see happen pretty soon. Like ideally, if things were to go decently next year, we have the torch table kicking out parts and doing the big tractor build. Ideally next year, we'll see if we can get there. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to get there, but definitely the torch table as a start. So okay, let's keep moving on here. Herman, do you have anything to report on, or any comments?
Are you talking to me? I'm not talking.
No, to Herman, who's not Jen.
Hello, Martin. No, I have to this point nothing new from this site. From this,
yeah. Are you in touch with the Germany people where, like for example, Ruslan has your 3D printer, correct? Still?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Are they moving forward on their Power Cube? Not the Power Cube, their 2020 aluminum frame 3D printer? Do you know?
The one working on that, I think, is Oliver.
Yeah.
And I heard him talking every now and then, making comments, but I don't think he's very. He works in a lot of things all together. I think he doesn't really keep day-to-day record of all the projects that he has going on. I am participating in a couple of the groups that they have here in Telegram, and there is a lot of traffic there, mainly related to solar power.
Yeah. Are they moving forward with their open solar? So their little power station, solar, kind of like the solar power cube thing?
Yes.
That's moving forward. Do they have a product release date or anything like that? Do you know?
No, I am not aware. Not yet.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Well, there's a branch of open source ecology. Not a branch. A couple of people that meet in a hobby in some sort of fab lab here in Stuttgart, which is relatively close from where I am.
Yeah.
So my aim is to see if in a couple of months I manage to go there and have a look.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. That sounds good. So sounds good. Yeah. So let's start wrapping up here. So to wrap up, I do keep talking about the design sprints and getting more people involved, but I think one avenue that we're seeing emerging is that if we create curriculum for teachers, then we can have teachers, we teach them about basics of 3D printing, as well as so prototyping and basic design and part libraries, so that we can host clubs where certain teachers, there'll likely be certain teachers that actually adopt the greater mission of OSE and say, hey, yeah, we also want to get involved in prototyping, so starting clubs, things like that. So once we have that in multiple locations, I think that can kind of go together with this training of the teachers, because we can maybe add like another day to training of teachers and curriculum development. Like we recently talked to Digital Promise, which creates curriculum for schools. But it would be an interesting route if we could provide curriculum to schools, and then we get people, students and teachers who are actually behind doing continuing development efforts, so we can grow the team that way. There's possibilities there, but once again, it's takes time to develop that. So, but we look forward to that as we roll out the 3D printers and other microfactory parts. So anyway, I think let's wrap up here. So we're busy on 3D printer work, marketing, developing other things in the background, the potential Africa pilot, and looking for more immersion experience next April, May. So that's about all for now. So yeah, let's reconvene next week then. So same time, Tuesday. Well, no, hold on. I'm actually gonna be not gonna be there. So because I'm actually leaving for Hong Kong on the 22nd. So I think next meeting we'll take it from here on the 30th, the Tuesday, and I'll report on the findings from Shenzhen, China. See if they're gonna let me across the border. But yeah, so no meeting next week. Going traveling, and then let's reconvene on 30th of October and see where we are. And that's actually going to be after the Hong Kong trip. Speaking at, it's called the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and then the first event's coming up on the 27th in Oakland at Counterculture Labs. So if anyone wants to sign up, please see the website. But we'll report on the progress of these events in our meeting on Tuesday the 30th. So thanks a lot, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. And Jen, hit the stop record so we can post this if maybe you got a better copy. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Martin.
Bye-bye.
Yay.